Luguentz sizing up Murphy. Drives, floats, hangs, and scores on the turnaround. J-Dub way behind the three-point line and hits way behind the three-point line. Got blocked. What a rejection by Holmgren. Standing tall like a wall.
This is Dort. You're listening to the Uncontested.
What is up, Thunder fans? And welcome to the Uncontested Postgame Podcast Edition. We weren't even planning on doing a postgame tonight, but the Thunder just defeated the Houston Rockets 111-96 to advance to the NBA Cup Finals. An incredibly fun game, an absolute grind of a game. And we couldn't wait. We couldn't wait until the Sunday group podcast. So we had to come here with a postgame. We are a proud part of the Blue Wire Podcast Network and proudly brought to you all by Prairie Artisan Ales. You can find us on all social media outlets, Blue Sky, Twitter, especially YouTube. Obviously going live for all of our podcasts post-game and our weekly group podcast on YouTube. Having a ton of fun with you all. Jumping into the comments, we'll be sure to get to those tonight. But also, if you haven't already subscribed to our Patreon, you can see a nice little QR code up in the corner. Be sure to scan that. That will get you the link to our Discord, to our Patreon, which gives you access to our Discord. We're having a ton of fun in there, especially tonight, and tons of bonus content for all of you all that are willing to pay a little extra. So before I get any further, I am joined by two of my favorite fellows. We got JD Silva.
Fellas, happy to be here.
And Coach of the Year, or a leading candidate for Coach of the Year in the local Frisco YMCA, Justin Peabody.
Hello, everybody.
Heyo.
Guys, what a fun game to get to break down. Like I said, we usually, if we have a group podcast the night after a Thunder game, we typically skip a post game because we don't want to just repeat ourselves. But this one was way too exciting not to just go ahead and jump in and break down. Like I said, the Thunder ended up beating the Rockets 111-96. I called it a grind of a game because that's exactly what it was. The Thunder were held to a season low first half points. I don't even remember what that was. I can pull up my screenshots later, but and they come out in the second half and score 70 points. SGA was incredible in the second half. Hartenstein got it going. The Thunder were looking for him. There are all kinds of fun things to break down from this game. But just originally, what are your guys' initial reactions?
Thunder going for the cup.
Against the Bucks.
Bucks for the cup.
Unbelievable.
What are the odds?
How lucky are we to have the Bucks in
Vegas? In Vegas.
Get us a Bucks.
Fever
Get us a
dream.
Bucks sounder too.
Bucks.
Bucks in the cup.
Bucks.
I have Pete.
Incredible. Let's just do that for the next 25 minutes.
Two of our most specific sounders have on a crash course today.
Incredible. I think you hit on it well, Taylor. The grind of a game is an accurate assessment. The number, like the best defenses in the NBA facing off, you could expect to have a bit of a grind. But this was just like a special kind of grind to start this one. The offense was horrendous. Nobody could hit a shot. The Thunder shot like 17% from three, 41 points in the first half. Like they've had multiple quarters this season scoring 41 points. It was ugly. The arena was dead. There was not a lot of energy to start this one in that Vegas crowd.
They weren't even playing music in the background.
It was just silent. It was just awkward and silent and a lot of missed basketballs. And it felt like a third grade YMCA game that I witnessed this morning. But like the tables completely turned in the second half. And I think that's kind of where I want to start is like the resilience of this Thunder team. Bad shooting night. I think look no further than Shai, who I think started this one like 2 for 10.
He had 6 points in the first half.
6 points in the first half, ends with 32. The definition of just keep shooting. And eventually he was getting to his spots. He was looking exactly like the Shai that we've seen all season. The one play that stood out of many from Shai tonight, the crossover on Dylan Brooks when Hartenstein back screened him put that man in a blender. He didn't know what continent he was on as Shai just went straight around him. It was beautiful. And that's hard to stop, even if you are one of the best defenses in the NBA. And I think ultimately that's what it came down to. In a battle of immovable objects, the Thunder found more ways to carve up the Rockets defense than the Rockets were able to find success against OKC.
I think that's kind of the story of the game, and that's what the ESPN announcers were talking about also. It's like, these are two incredibly sound defensive teams, incredibly impressive on that end of the floor. But one team has an MVP candidate. That's really,
right.
Jesse, you mentioned the first half. After the first quarter, Thunder were 2 of 13 from 3. The Rockets were only 2 of 9 from 3. Both teams were right around 30% from the floor in general. At halftime, I mentioned the Thunder scoring a season low at half. They only scored 41 points. But the big thing is they were only down 1. They were still within striking distance. So that's what gave them the opportunity there. And that third quarter and that second half really to kind of put the pedal to the metal. And we saw that. This Thunder team in the third quarter is extremely resilient. Their third quarter has, I don't have the stats pulled up in front of me. I want to look into that later tonight. But their third quarters have been absolutely incredible this season, which is kind of the opposite of what it was last year.
Yeah,
It felt to me that it was like third quarter was a struggle, and then fourth quarter dub comes in to save the team. And that hasn't been the case this season. But ultimately, like I said, if I can find it, the Thunder end up, the Thunder scored 70 in the second half, and that's just pretty incredible. So
weird game. To be transparent to the listeners, I watched this game I was at a bowling alley celebrating my dad's birthday, and at bowling alleys, some of them there's a screen, at the back of the lane, back of the lane. So that's how I consumed this game, and and let me tell you, it felt like I was watching a game at the bubble. Like that.
Yes.
That is the feeling I had watching it.
That's a good comparison.
It's like, where's the juice? It's like the NBA is not bringing the juice with this. And there's been a lot of ratings talk recently that we will not get into. But needless to say, still an exciting win, an exciting result, even if the experience may not have been super exciting from a crowd perspective. Like, it was a great win. Like Taylor was talking about earlier, the difference is the Thunder have a superstar, and Houston's awesome. We were giving them love in our group chat, but they are a number one away from being legit.
Yep. I think that's fair. I'd also envision Silva tonight throwing bowling balls at Alperen Şengün on the projector screen.
Well, we haven't even. I
cannot confirm or deny.
I meant to start with this, but before we get into our big takeaways. Cason Wallace,
going
absolute dog. Dude. They're at the end of the game. Him and Şengün get tied up, and Cason comes out and starts just, no pun intended, barking at Şengün.
Yeah,
results in Şengün throwing a little. Well, I won't say it on the podcast, but we'll call it a shove.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, the two teams got after it. These two teams do not like each other.
No, they do not. Much like the fan bases.
Yes, and it came to a bubbling point. OKC can deny, it's not really a rivalry. We play this way. We get up for any team. Not at all. This is an absolute rivalry. I love seeing that from none other than Cason Wallace.
And right after, got some juice from the crowd when an OKC chant broke out, which I thought was kind of cool.
Yes,
like after Şengün threw that little hissy fit, the Vegas crowd went very pro OKC, which you love to see. Also in the chat, people asking, why did Dort get a technical? Dort hit that big 3 late, and he did the 3-point celebration like everybody on the team does, with the thumb and the first 2 fingers, and the refs apparently thought it was a gun and gave him a technical.
Well, here's the best part. And again, doubling down on this OKC team. Post-game celebration right in front of ESPN, right before Shai's about to give his interview.
Yeah.
I believe it was Isaiah Joe and Lou Dort. They're laughing about the technical.
Yeah.
They both put up the 3 and do the 3-point machine gun celebration. I'm just like, hell yes.
They're having
love this
fun.
team so much. They're having a blast. Somebody dropped an F-bomb. I thought it was Shai. Somebody, when he was doing his post, I'm pretty sure it was Shai. Somebody told me maybe it was somebody in the background. There was an F-bomb dropped immediately in the post-game podcast. Like, these guys are fired up. I'm fired up.
I'm fired up.
Ra-ta-ta.
The reporter from ESPN was like, "You can't say that on live TV."
Right. And then she told him to be quiet, which I also, and they did not. They were not quiet.
No.
Where's
The vibes
Gallo?
are high.
Where's Gallo when you need him?
Someone get Draymond Green's comment on that post-game interview quick.
Yeah. Bring him up.
kidding.
I need to know what he thinks.
Well, like you said, Justin, the vibes are high. Let's go ahead and
We're
get
going to the cup.
We're going to the cup finals against the Bucks. Where do we want to start? There's a lot of takeaways to break down. I'll just kind of rapid fire through a couple of these. You guys can pick where we want to go. One team thing for me that really stood out. I haven't looked into this because we're jumping on this right after the game. But was this the first game all season? Maybe with the exception of like a couple of the first games early in the season where the Thunder had more free throw attempts and made more free throws than their opponent. The Thunder were 20 of
That's a great stat.
28. We'll start with it. Thunder were 28 of 32 from the free throw line. Shot 87.5% after missing quite a few of those in the first half. The second half, they got a lot more calls, which was fascinating.
Yep.
And they hit him at a high clip, which was huge. No gun intended.
Stop. And Shai, not helping the foul merchant narrative tonight. 14 of 15 from the line when the Rockets only made 15 of 25. That's certainly, like, you can't ignore that. That's a big difference in this game. But like you said, Taylor, that has not been the norm for this team this season. You love to see them actually get a whistle. With that said, I still felt, maybe I'm just scarred, I still felt like there were calls that were missed. Officiating was fine overall. The one moment I did really appreciate was when Lou Dort was driving to the basket, and was it Tari Eason that swatted the ball out, and they thought it went off Lou Dort, so the Rockets challenged, and they went to the table and reviewed it and ended up calling a foul and sending Dort to the free throw line. So, like, that one's on you. Those two free throws, that's on you, Ime.
The challenge backfired.
Yeah.
Another gun pun.
Stop. Ime was left silenced on the bench. It's I don't know that nothing stood out to me watching the game as far as like, wow, the Thunder are doing X. That must be why they're getting to the line. I think you take it anytime you can get it if you're this Thunder team, because they have not been the benefactor of free throw margin very often this season.
The Thunder, or the Rockets, I should say, do play a pretty physical brand of basketball.
Yep.
In general, and it's like throughout this season, because the Rockets are the second or third seed in the West at this point. Like they've been rewarded for playing that style, which I respect. Like, let them play a physical game if that's what they want. But tonight it did kind of bite them in the ass. Like, it was.
Yeah.
I Thunder finally got a favorable whistle. I won't complain about the refereeing tonight, because there's been so many nights where we could do that.
Well, and you guys mentioned it, an extremely physical game, like we've talked so much about already. 25 fouls for Houston to 24 for the Thunder. So it's not like it was super unbalanced.
Yeah, right.
A lot of those just came in transition or not off ball necessarily, but non-shooting fouls for the Thunder.
Yep.
In comparison to the Rockets fouling Thunder shooters. And a lot of those came. We had the Isaiah Joe foul from
the corner three. Yep.
We had Shai, I think twice got fouled from the 3-point line. Maybe maybe it was only one. Regardless, it was pretty refreshing to see that, especially in the second half, because at halftime, the Rockets had quite a few more free throw attempts than the Thunder. But moving on, we can go ahead and dive into some players. You guys mentioned SGA. Silva, do you want to go ahead and just pull up? Well, I say that. Well, a little pump fake there.
I think we can do it. I'm ready to
Is it Shai
call
or is it Lou?
I think
Lou was fantastic also.
Lou was fantastic, but I think it's Shai tonight.
That's fair.
Our
Take us home,
superstar, the king of the prairie, the king of the north, the king of the cup. Incredible. Like you both said earlier, the only superstar on the floor tonight. A rough start, a rough first half. Like I said, I believe he started 2 of 10 shooting to turn it around and will his team to victory in the second half, getting to his spots, doing exactly what he does, making the defense work so hard to try to slow him down. Shai is the king of the prairie and the reason the Thunder are heading to the NBA Cup Finals. Shout out Prairie. Silva, I hear you have a new favorite beer that we want to tell the people about.
Yes. Let me make sure I get the name correct. Fourth quarter. Yeah, sheesh. It is buzzer beater is what you and Nick have been drinking that I've been unable to find, which is essentially your prairie beer combined with a Gatorade flavor.
Blue Gatorade.
Blue Gatorade.
Buzzer beater.
This one, fourth quarter, is lemon lime Gatorade, which is like my top 2 of Gatorade flavors.
Amazing.
Went to the tap house, got several packs of those, and it is fantastic. It is fantastic.
What a coinky dink with Shai's fourth quarter tonight.
There you go.
Full circle.
Branding by SGA there.
Great branding. King of the Prairie and obviously a fan of the Uncontested and Prairie Elves, as you all should be.
Mm-hmm.
Like we mentioned,
in the first half, by the way, for
4
SGA.
steals, 5 steals on the game. Shai had, 6 points in the first half, 12 in the third quarter, and then 14 in the fourth. 8 rebounds. I'm not sure we've seen that from Shai. I don't know what Shai's career high in rebounds was, but he was absolutely flirting with it. 6 assists. Only 8 of 21 from the floor, which is kind of crazy. You guys mentioned the free throws. 14 to 15 is huge. But like you said, Silva, 5 steals. I think his career high in steals is 7. Yeah. And within the first 5 or 6 minutes off the top of my head, he had 4 of those steals. And that's the thing that really stood out to me. It just, again, more big picture, but the Thunder's defense, their identity was on display from the very beginning. They kept that intensity the whole way of the game. Now, the first half, they weren't able to get out into transition. And I loved so much, going on a bit of a tangent here, but I loved so much halftime, where Mark Daigneault was not interviewed. Yeah, he had the mic on, right?
Yeah,
and
they had a clip from the locker room. I thought that was kind of cool.
What was his quote? It was something like, against a physical team like this, we can't rely on jump shots.
Yep.
We got to push the pace in transition and play to our identity. They did that in the second half, led by Shai. So I agree with you guys. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander for Prairie L's player of the King of the Prairie, player of the game. But the other player I had in consideration, another big takeaway, was Luguentz Dort. 19 points tonight, 9 rebounds, 5 of 11 from the floor, 5 of 9 from 3, 4 of 6 from the free throw line. That's pretty awesome. Had 3 steals, was all over the place, played great defense on guys, especially like Fred VanVleet. Did not let him get off like he did that previous game.
No 38 points from VanVleet tonight.
No.
I thought Lou was awesome. I'm curious your guys' thoughts.
Lou was awesome, as he has been so often lately. I love the shout out he got from the broadcast crew tonight too, kind of talking about his shooting progression. You mentioned it, Taylor, 5 of 9 from behind the arc. That's huge. That was a massive bump for this team from the 3-point line. You go up and down the roster, hands down, the best 3-point performance from anybody on this team. Rewind a few years, like who would have believed that stat line from Lou Dort? Become a very reliable 3-point shooter in addition to everything that he does on the defensive end. Going into one of the commercial breaks, they had the clip of him just a full layout to get a loose ball. Like that kind of stuff, you can't put a value on that to this team. And I think it helps set the tone in a game where both defenses, again, were top tier in the NBA. You have to win the margins. You have to win those little moments, because you know the Rockets are going to be going after it just as much as the Thunder. So you have to find those little moments that you can execute on and take any little advantage that you can. And I feel like Lou Dort does that so often, whether it's a loose ball or whether it's like a one-on-one battle. It's crazy to look back at the Mavericks game from the previous Cup game and the clip that went viral on Mavs Twitter for some reason of Lou Dort just face guarding Luka. Like, that is a level of aggression and attention to detail that Lou brings. And I don't know, I'm not sure exactly what narrative Mavs fans were trying to spin out of that clip, but to me, what that shows is like a guy who's going to bring it every second. He's not waiting for his man to have the ball to lock in. He's not waiting for crunch time. Like, he will guard you 50 feet from the basket away from the ball just as much as if you have the ball going in for a layup. And I think that's irreplaceable to this team.
Yeah, there's a word. Taylor and I watch Premier League soccer, and there's a word used to describe players that play like Lou Dort, and it's shithousery. Where they're just involved. They're just kind of.
That's not the word I thought you were gonna say.
No, they're just a menace. Like, they're involved in everything. They're
I really want to call
always causing issues.
Ime Adoka, shout out Eam. Really want to call him a wanker. What a wanker.
Wanker.
Sudoku.
Yeah. That's insane, Justin. I wanted to say we started talking about Lou's like specific injury. Taylor and I did a post game, I think, right around the Utah-Toronto game earlier in December, where we said he had like the mallet finger and all that. Since then, I want to say though, New Orleans 4 of 7 from 3, Dallas 3 of 7 from 3, tonight 5 of 9 from 3. Before that, he was like really, really, really struggling for the most part.
Got that mallet sorted out.
Got that mallet sorted out. It's just a hammer now.
But to your point, Silva, one thing that Dort has mentioned in some of his media availability is that he found a different tape. Like, he found something that worked a lot better for him. And obviously we're seeing it, which is kind of crazy. I think he has probably another.
I hope he gets that sponsorship deal.
That's right.
Get that tape deal.
Or like a mallet hammer deal. I mean, come on. It's right there.
Missed opportunity. He got that hammer at Menards.
Shout out, Dustin.
Full circle.
For all the non-Patreon listeners, be sure to subscribe to the Patreon.
This is the high quality content you can pay for.
That's right. You'll be in on the inside jokes. Guys, one other player, we talked about Lou Dort, but Isaiah Hartenstein, I thought.
Yes, thank you. I've been waiting.
I thought he struggled, Justin, in the first half.
Everyone struggled in the first half, Taylor.
They did. But some careless turnovers from iHeart. He was still playing good defense, but he was like very timid. Seemed like, I think it was Ben Pfeiffer on Twitter who mentioned you wish you would see him a little more. He mentioned this at halftime. Like, you wish you would see Hartenstein be a little more aggressive, go towards that floater a little more, attack the basket a little more. But not only that, I wish the Thunder would find him a little more. Well, sure enough, in the second half, we saw so much of that. We had more lobs in the second half of this game to iHeart than maybe we've had all like of this rebuild era.
Dude.
So Justin, take us away on iHeart. I thought he had a great second half.
The iHeart lobs give me life. It's just a piece that this Thunder team has not had for the last few years that's phenomenal. And their record represents that, right? Like, when they play with a center, they're pretty darn near unbeatable this season. And Hart tonight was fantastic. Offensively, you mentioned the lobs, awesome. The connections that he made, able to move the ball around and find open guys on the perimeter. The screen setting, again, we mentioned the crossover that Shai put Dylan Brooks in the Canadian blender. And that was Hart, right? He came up and he set a great screen to facilitate that play, which ended up leading to a J-Dub 3. You cannot overstate his value to the offense of this team. And then on the defensive end, I mean, he undid a would have been poster from, was that Jabari Smith? I can't remember who.
It was.
Yeah, I think it was Smith. Jabari Smith went up and was going to absolutely detonate. But still, he got in there and turned that from would have been a ESPN highlight or a TikTok video to he got in there and made a play. And didn't shy away from the content.
He made a block. He got in contact with the ball first.
Technically, he made a foul. But yes, he made a block. I wish
Mark would have challenged it. So did the Discord. We were fired.
Yeah, yes, they did. The Discord was greatly pushing for a challenge. But the aggression and the physicality, like nobody else on this Thunder team right now, Chet obviously would, but nobody else is making that play. Nobody else is getting in that position for this Thunder team. And I think that a very small moment in this game, but I think a moment that is kind of the epitome of what he brings to this Oklahoma City team.
Yeah, the Thunder have a couple of psychopaths at center. I think is Is the conclusion I've come to. There's just a level
Yes.
of like insanity that those two dudes have that really make the rest of the defense work so well. Like they're just willing to challenge like anything and take the right risks to win them again. And they make game-changing plays. Like that would have been the first time old Jabari Smith had been on the ESPN top 10. And Hartenstein said, hell no, brother.
No, sir.
See you next time.
Yeah.
Yeah. I know that dude's awesome. He's awesome.
Phenomenal.
So we talked about some of I think the biggest things that stood out to me. I'll let you guys kind of take us away here with the final one or two big takeaways. Just some thoughts that I still have, and we'll break down into more detail tomorrow night when we do our group podcast. But Dub obviously still had 20 points. Honestly, there was a stretch there in the second and third quarters where he kind of carried the team. We didn't have much going, kept us alive. So Dub really stood out to me.
Yep.
There's some negatives, like Aaron Wiggins on both ends of the floor.
Yeah.
He has not played well. And defensively tonight, he was absolutely horrific, if we're being completely honest. On a more bright side, I thought Kenrich Williams, even though he didn't score in the second half, again, kept the Thunder to shooting. At one point, his 7 points in the first half led the Thunder in scoring. And also Alex Caruso continues to do what Alex Caruso does on the defensive side of the ball.
Yep.
He's got a huge spark there, especially in the second unit, but continues to really struggle. I mean, he has some wide open threes. Almost all three of his 3-point attempts that he missed were wide open. So those are just some outstanding thoughts that I have. I'll let you guys pick what we talk about, and we can go from there.
I think those are all fair. I think the Wiggins stuff, I'm not reading too much into it because he's been so consistent for this team. He's definitely going through a bit of a rough stretch, and I agree tonight. There was no reason to keep putting him back on the floor. He was not a net positive tonight, and that's okay, right? Like the depth of this team, you have that ability. You don't need 10 deep every single night. And I thought tonight's rotations were interesting. You look at the starters' minutes. Some of them are pretty far up there, like almost playoff rotation-esque. J-Dub at 39 minutes, Shai at 38 minutes. That's significant. Hart at 33, Kaysen at 32, and Lou at 31.
It felt like a playoff game.
That's they leaned onto their starters. Jabari Smith played 40 minutes, and Fred VanVleet played 42. I did not realize that. That's insane. Speaking of playoff, the Rockets only played 9 guys, and Steven Adams played 6 minutes. Aaron Holiday played 5. So they essentially played 7 guys the majority of this game.
In a high intensity, like we said, grind of a game.
Yeah,
There's no other way to put it.
That's a playoff game, essentially.
That's nuts.
That's Thibodeau stuff right there.
Yeah.
Big style. Wow.
They wanted to win. I mean,
They had people crying in Twitter Spaces in the game before this. Silva,
they did.
They wanted to
crying
win.
in Twitter Spaces tonight.
I wonder how that guy's doing. If you've not seen that clip, do whatever you can to go find it. That's a gem.
Right, he's probably not in a Twitter space anymore, but
Silva's. Be sure to go to Silva's Twitter
Silva's
account.
bookmark folder is unhinged.
This is a
Still
weirdly
don't know
good
how
quality.
his brain works.
This is a really good
This
quality.
is very
video.
good quality.
This is good.
I don't know what to do with that information.
Just back and forth. It's nonstop. I love it.
Yeah.
Justin, I love that you brought up the minutes distribution. We saw AJ Mitchell, obviously a rookie, come in. Honestly, I thought he gave some really good minutes, especially in the first half.
Yeah, he did.
But then gets a knee, I think, from Tari Eason to the back of the head. Really hope he's not concussed because we didn't see him for the rest of the game after that happened in, I think, the beginning of the fourth quarter. Only played 9 minutes. But for the Thunder, Caruso led the bench with 19 minutes.
Yep.
Isaiah Joe was 17. Like, that's not a ton.
Yep. Yeah, it was definitely a different rotation tonight. It'll be interesting to see for Tuesday's game how the Thunder approach it. I need to do some reading. I saw some comments in the chat, so this feels like a good time to bring it up. This game was technically game 83 for the Thunder and the Bucks on Tuesday. Does not count for standings. Does not count for stats.
Super weird.
Super weird.
It's like a playing game, right? Where it's just like in the void.
It just exists in the
Where do
ether.
these stats go?
Yeah. I don't know. I don't know what to do with this information.
Yeah.
Well, and not only that, but one thing that a lot of the teams, and I think one reason that Digdon has really kind of poo-pooed on the whole in-season tournament idea, NBA Cup, especially when he's been interviewed, like here over the past couple of days. Like today, he called like Vegas like a circus.
A circus.
And
Mark's
there's so
in hell.
much. Yeah.
We could say Mark's in hell. He is in
He
complete
hates
hell
it.
right now.
He
hates
wants to
it.
be back in OKC.
Yeah.
He is like considering taking the team playing back to OKC and coming back like Monday evening.
Yeah. No, he's
But one thing that really sucks about this is the Thunder do play, obviously, in Vegas on Tuesday against the Bucks. Then they have to turn around, I believe, on Thursday, fly to Florida, and have a back-to-back with, I think it's the Magic and the Heat. That's brutal.
That is brutal.
That's not an award for a team who just worked their way to the NBA Cup Finals.
The NBA Finals.
I mean,
Yeah, you're right. Thursday
into
at
it
Orlando, Friday at Miami.
brutal.
That's rough.
enjoy your cash. Now get the hell back on the plane.
Yeah, I mean, it is definitely a different feel. I love to see the love for the cup from Hartenstein. I think it's a cool idea. It's still funny to me that the NBA made the Lakers hang a banner for it, and there was a moment tonight where I was getting ahead of myself, picturing what this banner would look like in Paycom Center. It's fun, and like that's my biggest conclusion. Obviously, very biased. Like making the finals of the NBA Cup, like you hope you're having some fun along the way, but I think the cup is fun. I think this has been fun. I think it gives, like I said this on Sunday, the most fun you can have with a mid-December NBA matchup right now, right? Like that game in against Dallas was a playoff feel. Tonight, less of a playoff feel. I think if there's one thing to fix, it's that. Like, I don't know how you solve that or if you need to solve that, but it'll be interesting to see what Tuesday looks like.
It was like style of play was playoff feel, but crowd environment in general.
Bubble.
Was like
the bubble was the perfect comparison. Yes.
Yep. So weird. Also, something I was thinking, it would be a little funny if the Thunder win and they're like, we're not putting up a banner. That just makes the Lakers look a little stupid if you're putting up there.
I love that.
That would be amazing.
I have a feeling that's probably not a choice, but yes.
Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah.
I do too. Or if like Mark just like flies in Dylan Jones from the G League, or actually I think Dylan's with the team right now, but like basically doesn't play anybody in the finals because they want to rest everybody for the actual games that matter. I have
a feeling there'd be some hefty fines coming their way if they tried that.
I think Mark would be more than happy to pay him.
Would they fine? Would they fine Mark if Mark said we're 0-0 dude, when the game is about to start? Like, you know what?
Good.
We're fining your ass. You can't stick to the bit that much.
So good.
But ultimately, Justin, I'm kind of with you. Right? Yeah, it's been great. I think the intensity of the games have been awesome. We saw the game earlier against the Hawks and the Bucks. It was a lot of fun. High intensity game. There have been great games in the NBA Cup. If we're keeping it a buck, I think a lot of those are more matchup dependent, just like the Mavericks and the Thunder.
Sure.
I think that game would have been played the same way, high intensity, regardless of the NBA Cup. And there's a lot of room for improvement, just like the scheduling, like we talked about, and obviously the environment. I mean, not ideal. So there's a lot of kinks to be worked out, but I think they're on to something.
I agree.
Yeah, it's cool.
Let's go get Jay Will that money.
That's right. Jay Will fired up. I'm a little concerned about Jay Will. No news about him. Obviously, the Thunder have been tight-lipped about him.
Save it for tomorrow, Taylor.
But Jay Will may not have any hamstrings left. We'll see.
500,000, you can buy a hamstring.
We could have a.
There you go.
That's true. We could have a Jimmy Butler trade tomorrow.
Wow.
We could.
Or a B-ball Paul signing.
Yes.
There you go.
Equally as important.
Make sure you tune in tomorrow.
Yep. Exciting stuff, Lynn.
Next time on Dragon Ball Z.
Yes.
Looks like the Pistons will be making a trade probably tomorrow because they need to get to that salary floor. And they just waived a couple of players. And obviously, we had the news from Shams about Dennis Schroeder heading to Golden State, which is really fascinating. Yes. The big reason for that is December 15th. A lot of these players who signed contracts in the offseason are now eligible to be traded. And so it's the unofficial start of NBA trade season. So, yeah, a lot to look forward to. A lot of news coming out of the NBA soon. And we will be breaking it all down here at the Uncontested. Well done, Silva.
It would have been horrible if I'd mistimed that. And if you were like, wait, I have something else to
I
say.
have another segment planned.
That would have been very on brand for me. But I
Yes,
did not.
it would.
Believe
Yes,
it or not,
would.
we were at 35 minutes. Only 5 minutes after what we said we were aiming for. So
Well done, Taylor.
I'm doing pretty good here. Thank you guys again for tuning in. Just a super fun game to break down. Like I mentioned, tomorrow night we will be live at 9 p.m. Central Time for our group podcast. We're breaking this game down in a little more detail, getting Jacob's thoughts on it, as well as just some general thoughts about the Thunder over the past week or so. Maybe we'll talk more about Silva's tweet with the pig that he's showing live on the stream right now. One other thing, I mentioned the Patreon. For all of you degenerates who are subscribed to the Patreon, our next Patreon watch party on Discord is next Friday, 12/20. That'll be the Sega Baba Silva
Yes.
against the Miami Heat. So be sure to join us there. Subscribe if you haven't already. We're going to have a ton of fun with that streaming the game live and talking with one another. And then we'll be sure to break it down in a post-game podcast. So thank you all again for tuning in. We'll see y'all tomorrow night. And then we'll see y'all again Tuesday night after the Thunder face the Bucks in the NBA Cup Finals. Bucks. Until next time, and as always, Thunder up.